Welcome, dear listener, to a journey of the mind, a gentle exploration designed to lull you into the deepest, most restorative sleep. Tonight, we drift into the realm of Empire Genesis, gentle whispers of a mage's first bricks. Imagine, if you will, a world spun from starlight and ancient earth, a place where magic isn't just a fleeting spark, but the very essence of creation. Our story begins not with a cataclysmic boom, but with the quiet contemplation of a young mage named Alara. Her journey, like the soft glow of a distant hearth, will guide us through the earliest, most delicate stages of building something grand, something that whispers of an empire yet to come. Lara was not born into power, nor did she inherit a grand legacy. Her magic was a quiet hum within her, a gentle curiosity that led her to seek understanding in the rustling leaves and the steady flow of the river. She lived in a humble, secluded valley, far from the bustling settlements, a place where the air was always crisp and the nights were painted with a million stars. Each evening, as the last rays of twilight kissed the peaks of the mountains, Alara would find her favorite spot by a smooth, ancient stone, worn by centuries of wind and rain. Here she would practice, not with grand incantations, but with soft, almost imperceptible gestures, coaxing the magic that resided within all things to respond to her gentle will. Her first bricks, as we might call them, were not of stone or mortar, but of intention and focus. She began with the simplest of tasks, coaxing a single dewdrop to shimmer brighter on a spider's web, or encouraging a wilting wildflower to lift its head just a little. These were not feats of power that would shake the earth, but rather intimate dialogues with the very fabric of existence. She learned patience from the slow growth of a sapling, and persistence from the tireless current of the stream. Her hands, delicate and precise, would trace patterns in the air, not for show, but to visualize the subtle energies she sought to manipulate. Each breath was a rhythm, each thought a silent prayer to the universal magic that enveloped her. Valley itself was her greatest teacher. The ancient trees, with their gnarled roots reaching deep into the earth, seemed to whisper secrets of endurance and strength. The smooth stones in the riverbed, polished by endless currents, spoke of resilience and transformation. Alara absorbed these lessons, allowing them to shape her understanding of magic not as a force to be commanded, but as a symphony to be joined. She realized that true power lay not in imposing her will, but in understanding the inherent nature of what she sought to influence, and then working in harmony with it. This was the philosophy that would underpin every brick of her nascent empire, an empire built on respect and subtle mastery, rather than brute force. One evening, as the crescent moon hung like a silver locket in the indigo sky, Alara decided to take her first deliberate step towards creating something tangible. She had spent weeks observing the local clay, noting its pliability, its ability to hold shape, and the way it responded to the warmth of the sun. Now she sat by a small, still pond, its surface reflecting the stars like scattered diamonds. She closed her eyes, her mind a tranquil pool, and focused on the earth beneath her fingertips. She didn't seek to rip the clay from the ground, but to gently draw it forth, particle by particle, coalescing it into a form. It was a slow, almost meditative process. She envisioned the tiny grains of earth, bound together by unseen forces, rising, shaping themselves into a small, perfect cube. Her breath hitched slightly as a subtle warmth spread through her hands. A faint, earthy scent filled the air, and then slowly, impossibly, a small, smooth cube of reddish-brown clay emerged from the bank, resting gently on the moss. It was imperfect, of course, a little lopsided with a faint tremor in its structure, but it was there. It was her first true brick, a testament to her quiet persistence, a whisper of the colossal structures she might one day conjure. She held it, feeling its cool weight, a deep sense of accomplishment settling over her like a comforting blanket. This simple clay cube became her touchstone. She spent many nights refining her technique, learning to make the cubes smoother, more uniform, more stable. She experimented with different types of earth, discovering how the sandy soil of the riverbank held a different energy than the rich, dark loam of the forest floor. Each material had its own subtle language, its own resistance and cooperation. She learned to listen to these whispers, adapting her focus, her intention, to suit the particular nature of the material. It was a dance, an intricate communication between her nascent magic and the slumbering potential of the earth. Weeks turned into months. Alara's small collection of magically formed bricks grew. They weren't just simple cubes anymore. She began to experiment with different shapes, slender rectangles, elegant arches, even tiny, perfectly spherical pebbles. Each piece was a practice in precision, a meditation on form and function. She would arrange them on the mossy ground, creating miniature structures, envisioning them as parts of something much grander. A tiny wall here, a miniature archway there. These were not just exercises, they were the blueprints of her dreams, whispered into existence by the gentle force of her will. The animals of the valley seemed to grow accustomed to her quiet presence. A curious fox might pause to watch her, its bright eyes reflecting the moon, before silently padding away. A family of deer would graze nearby, undisturbed by her soft incantations. Even the nocturnal owls would hoot their approval from the ancient oaks, their calls echoing through the peaceful night. Alara felt a deep connection to this land, a sense of belonging that fueled her magical growth. It was a symbiotic relationship. She nurtured the magic within the earth, and the earth, in turn, nurtured her spirit. One crisp autumn evening, with the scent of wood smoke faintly lingering in the air from some distant, unseen settlement, Alara decided to move beyond simple conjuration. She wanted to lift something to understand the magic of levitation. She chose a smooth, flat river stone about the size of her palm. Again, she didn't seek to exert overwhelming force. Instead, she imagined the stone becoming lighter, its connection to the earth loosening, not breaking. She focused on the air currents around it, imagining them as invisible hands gently cradling it. It took many attempts. The stone would tremble, perhaps lift a fraction of an inch, only to settle back with a soft thud. Frustration, a rare visitor, would occasionally prickle at the edges of her calm, but Alara always returned to her core principle, patience and gentle persuasion. She recalled the way a feather drifted on the breeze, the effortless grace of it. She tried to emulate that same lightness, that same detachment from gravity. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of whispered intentions, the stone rose. Slowly, majestically, it hovered about a foot above the ground, rotating gently as if caught in a silent current. Alara's heart swelled with a quiet triumph. It wasn't a mountain she had lifted, but it was a beginning, a significant step in her understanding of the subtle forces that governed her world. She held it there for a long moment, savoring the feeling of effortless control, before gently guiding it back to rest on the moss. With the mastery of levitation, however rudimentary, came new possibilities for her bricks. She could now arrange them with greater precision, creating more intricate designs without ever physically touching them. She began to imagine larger structures, not just miniature models. She pictured a small, protective wall or perhaps a simple shelter, something to provide respite from the elements. Her dreams began to expand, carried on the gentle currents of her growing magical abilities. The first actual structure Alara attempted was a small, circular enclosure. She chose a patch of ground near a cluster of ancient, whispering birches, their white bark glowing faintly in the moonlight. She meticulously gathered her magically formed clay bricks, each one crafted with care and intention. She didn't rush. Every placement was a deliberate act, a conscious decision guided by an intuitive understanding of balance and stability. She would gently lift a brick, guide it into place with unseen hands, and then, with a soft push of her will, ensure it settled perfectly against its neighbors, bonding them with a faint, almost invisible magical adhesive. The process was slow, methodical, almost like a dance. Her movements were fluid, her focus unwavering. The gentle whispers of the birches seemed to approve, their leaves rustling a soft melody. As the circular wall began to take shape, rising steadily from the earth, Alara felt a deep connection to the ancient builders who long ago had raised stones with sweat and muscle. Her method was different, more ethereal, but the underlying drive to create, to shelter, to build was the same. The completed enclosure, though modest in size, was sturdy and true. It was her first actual building, a testament to her growing mastery, a silent declaration of her burgeoning power. She spent evenings within her small enclosure, feeling the protection it offered, even if only from the night breeze. It was a tangible representation of her progress, a quiet anchor in her journey. She understood that an empire wasn't built overnight, nor was it forged in fire and conquest. It began with a single thought, a single intention, and the slow, deliberate laying of one brick after another, each one infused with purpose and care. As the seasons turned, Alara continued her quiet work. She expanded her repertoire of magical skills, always seeking gentle, harmonious ways to interact with her environment. She learned to coax the earth to yield its nutrients more readily for her small garden, ensuring bountiful harvests of herbs and vegetables. She discovered how to weave patterns of light and shadow, creating mesmerizing displays that danced among the trees, illuminating her path on the darkest nights. These were not flashy displays of power, but rather subtle applications of her magic, designed to enhance, to nurture, to bring a sense of quiet wonder to her secluded existence. Her focus then shifted to the element of water. The nearby stream, with its constant flow and gentle murmur, became her next teacher. She spent hours by its banks, observing the currents, the way the water smoothed stones, carved paths, and nourished life. Her first attempts were to simply calm a small eddy, to make the water lie perfectly still in a small pool. It was harder than working with earth, as water was constantly in motion, ever shifting. But Alara, with her characteristic patience, persisted. She learned to feel the flow, to become one with its rhythm, and then, with the gentlest of intentions, to guide it. Slowly, she learned to part the water, creating temporary pathways for the smooth stones she wished to retrieve. She discovered how to purify a murky puddle, making it crystal clear with a soft internal hum of magic. And then she began to imagine something more ambitious, a steady, controlled flow of water directed by her will. She envisioned small channels, guiding the stream's bounty to where it was most needed, perhaps to irrigate a larger garden, or even to fill a small, serene pond. This led to her next major brick in the foundation of her unseen empire, the creation of a stable water channel. she meticulously shaped the earth, using her gentle levitation magic to guide the soil and stones into a perfect conduit. It was a longer, more involved project than her circular enclosure. She had to consider gravity, the natural inclination of water, and the need for a gradual slope. Each evening, as the stars emerged, she would work, shaping, guiding, nudging the earth into its new form. The sound of the flowing water, once completed, was a soft, continuous lullaby, a testament to her dedication and understanding. The channel brought life to a previously dry patch of land, allowing her to cultivate a wider variety of plants, some of which she had only ever read about in dusty scrolls. This small act of redirection, of nurturing the earth with water, seemed to infuse the entire valley with a renewed vitality. The birds sang a little louder, the air felt a little fresher, and Alara herself felt a deeper connection to the living world around her. She understood that a thriving community, even one consisting solely of herself for now, required sustainable resources, a delicate balance between human, or mage, intervention and natural processes. As the moon waxed and waned through countless cycles, Alara's understanding of magic deepened. She began to experiment with the third element, air. The wind, with its invisible power and pervasive presence, presented a unique challenge. How do you grasp something that cannot be seen, something that is constantly moving? She started by simply observing, feeling the gentle caress of a breeze on her skin, listening to its whispered secrets through the leaves. She learned that air was not just empty space, but a vibrant tapestry of currents, pressures, and unseen energies. Her initial attempts were to create a small, localized swirl of air, perhaps to lift a fallen leaf or to stir the embers of her small fire. It was difficult. Air seemed to resist direct manipulation, preferring its own wild, unpredictable dance. But Alara, ever patient, persisted. She learned to sense the subtle shifts in pressure, to anticipate the currents, and then, with a focused breath and a gentle thought, to influence them. She discovered that she couldn't force the air, but she could subtly persuade it, guiding its flow, nudging it into desired patterns. One evening, as a gentle breeze rustled through the valley, Alara sat contemplating a small, withered seed pod. She wanted to lift it, not with levitation, but by harnessing the power of the air itself. She closed her eyes, focusing on the invisible currents around the pod, imagining them coalescing, strengthening, forming a tiny, localized updraft. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the seed pod began to tremble, then it lifted, dancing lightly in the air, sustained by an unseen column of gentle wind. She held it there for a long moment, a soft smile gracing her lips, before letting the miniature gust dissipate, allowing the pod to drift gently back to the moss. This mastery of air, however subtle, opened up new avenues for Alara's quiet empire building. She began to consider the needs of a growing settlement. Perhaps one day there would be a need for communication, for sending messages over long distances. What if she could harness the wind to carry a light object, a coded message to a distant friend? Or perhaps to assist in the construction of future buildings, using controlled gusts to lift heavier components into place with even greater ease and precision. The possibilities, as always, expanded with her understanding. Her experiments with air also led her to a deeper appreciation of sound. She noticed how the wind carried whispers across the valley, how it shaped the calls of the nocturnal creatures. She began to explore the magic of resonance, learning to amplify the softest sounds, or to create gentle, calming harmonies that echoed through the night, a soothing symphony for her peaceful valley. These were the subtle, unseen bricks of her empire, the foundations of a culture built on harmony and gentle understanding. Fourth element, fire, was approached with even greater respect and caution. Alara understood its destructive potential, its wild, untamed nature. She didn't seek to command it, but to gently guide its warmth, to tame its flickering heart for beneficial purposes. She began with the simplest of tasks, to ignite a small fire from kindling with a mere thought, without the need for flint or friction. She focused on the latent heat within the wood, the spark of potential energy, and coaxed it to life. Her first magically ignited flame was a small, steady flicker, casting dancing shadows on the walls of her small enclosure. It was not a roaring inferno, but a controlled, gentle warmth. She learned to regulate its intensity, to make it burn brighter or dimmer with a mere shift of her intention. She discovered how to direct its heat, to warm her small dwelling without scorching the surrounding earth. This was not about power over fire, but about a deep, respectful partnership with it. She began to incorporate fire into her practical applications. She could now gently heat clay bricks to harden them, making them more durable and resilient. She could warm her water, making her evening infusions of herbs even more comforting. And she discovered the beauty of light, not just from the moon and stars, but from the controlled glow of a magical flame. She learned to make small, ethereal wisps of fire dance in the air, creating a soft, ambient illumination that was both beautiful and functional. These were the gentle hearths of her future empire, providing warmth, light, and a sense of enduring comfort. As the years unfolded, Alara's reputation, though she knew it not, began to spread like a gentle whisper on the wind. Travelers passing through the distant edges of the valley spoke of a place of uncommon tranquility, where the air hummed with a subtle, nurturing energy, and and where the plants grew with an almost miraculous vitality. They spoke of seeing strange, beautiful lights dancing in the night, and of hearing melodies carried on the breeze that soothed the weary soul. These were the unintended consequences of Alara's quiet work, the first ripples of her growing influence. She, however, remained focused on her steady, methodical process of building. Her small enclosure had slowly grown into a cluster of modest, yet elegantly crafted structures. There was a small, circular dwelling, its walls made of magically hardened clay and smooth river stones, topped with a roof woven from resilient reeds, reinforced with her subtle magic. Next to it, a slightly larger structure served as her workshop and library, filled with the scrolls she had painstakingly copied and the rare herbs she had cultivated. A serene pond, fed by her magically guided water channels, reflected the sky, its surface often adorned with shimmering, luminescent water lilies she had coaxed into being. These were not grand palaces, but they were deeply functional, perfectly harmonious with their natural surroundings, and imbued with a quiet magic that made them feel alive. Every stone, every beam, every drop of water, every flicker of light was a testament to Alara's gentle but persistent will. She understood that an empire, to truly endure, must be built on a foundation of sustainability and respect for the world it inhabits. It must nurture, not exploit. Her daily routine was a rhythm of creation and contemplation. Mornings were spent tending her expanded gardens, using her subtle earth magic to encourage growth and her water magic to ensure perfect irrigation. Afternoons were often dedicated to experimentation, to refining her control over the elements, pushing the boundaries of what her gentle magic could achieve. She might spend hours coaxing a new type of crystal to form from the minerals in the earth, not for adornment, but to store and amplify magical energies. Or she might work on her ability to shape the wind into invisible barriers, not for defense against attackers, but to protect her delicate plants from harsh gales. Evenings were reserved for reflection and the most intricate of her bricklaying activities. This was when she would focus on weaving pure magical energy into her creations. She wasn't just building with physical elements anymore, she was infusing her structures with spirit. She would sit within her central dwelling, the ambient light from her magical flames casting a soft, golden glow, and envision intricate wards of protection, not as aggressive shields, but as gentle membranes of energy that would deflect disharmony and invite tranquility. These wards were subtle, almost imperceptible, a quiet hum that resonated with the natural frequencies of the valley. She also began to craft small, magical artifacts, not weapons but tools for living, a tiny lantern that held a perpetual gentle flame requiring no fuel, a smooth stone that when held would soothe anxieties and promote peaceful sleep, a delicate chime that when struck would send a calming wave of resonance through the air, encouraging focus and clarity of thought. These were the first technologies of her empire, born not from gears and steam, but from intention and interwoven magic. Each artifact was a meticulously crafted brick, adding to the quiet strength and comfort of her developing haven. Lara's understanding of the unseen world grew exponentially. She learned to communicate with the spirits of the valley, the ancient tree spirits, the nimble river sprites, the watchful earth elementals. These communications were not through spoken words, but through shared feelings, through subtle exchanges of energy. They became her allies, her silent advisors, offering insights into the deepest rhythms of the land. They taught her about the hidden ley lines that crisscross the earth, pathways of potent magical energy. She learned how to tap into these lines, not to drain them, but to gently guide their flow, to enhance the natural vitality of her valley. Her ultimate goal was not dominion, but harmony. She envisioned a place where magic and nature coexisted in perfect balance, where every created thing contributed to the overall well-being of the ecosystem. This was the true essence of her empire building, not conquest of external territories, but the internal mastery of sustainable creation, a model of living that could, perhaps one day, inspire others. One particularly quiet night, as the Milky Way stretched across the sky like a river of diamonds, Alara decided to construct her most ambitious brick yet, a small ethereal communication nexus. She envisioned it not as a tower reaching for the stars, but as a subtle node woven from pure magical light and air, designed to carry intentions and thoughts over distances. It was a complex undertaking, requiring all her accumulated knowledge of elemental manipulation and energy weaving. She began by finding a naturally occurring focal point, a place where several ley lines converged, creating a gentle vortex of magical energy. Here she began to build. She didn't use clay or stone, but focused purely on energy. She coaxed strands of magical light from the air, weaving them into intricate, shimmering patterns. She infused these patterns with the essence of thought and intention, creating pathways for communication. The process was slow, painstaking, requiring immense concentration and a delicate touch. It was like knitting with starlight and whispers. As the nexus slowly took form, a faint, almost imperceptible hum filled the air. It wasn't a sound so much as a vibration, a feeling of connectedness. It manifested as a swirling orb of gentle, opalescent light, hovering silently above the ground about the size of a large melon. Within its depths, faint, shimmering lines of energy pulsed and intertwined, like miniature constellations. This was her first true piece of magical infrastructure, a brick that could one day link communities, share knowledge, and foster understanding. It was a quiet marvel, a testament to the idea that communication didn't need to be loud or intrusive, but could be as gentle and pervasive as the wind itself. This communication nexus, though purely energetic, served as a powerful symbolic brick. It represented the bridge between the solitude of her valley and the potential for a wider network of like-minded individuals. It was a silent promise of future connection, a soft beacon for those who might one day seek a similar path of harmonious magic and gentle creation. Lara knew that her empire wouldn't be one of vast armies or imposing castles, but of shared knowledge, peaceful collaboration, and sustainable living, all built upon these gentle whispers of a mage's first bricks. Each small step, each delicate creation, was weaving the fabric of a truly unique and enduring legacy. And as she looked upon her shimmering nexus, she felt a profound sense of peace, knowing that the journey was just beginning, and that every soft breath she took was a part of its silent, beautiful unfolding. Her world, once just a valley, was slowly, quietly becoming an empire of tranquility and gentle magic, one carefully placed intention at a time. The moonlight bathed the valley, turning the leaves to silver, and the soft hum of the nexus was like a lullaby inviting deep, peaceful slumber.